Are live. Good evening, gamers, and welcome to episode 14 of Games with Dave. Tonight, I am joined by an amazing RPG artist and now game designer, Billy Blue. If you're looking for a quick-to-learn RPG that's designed to get to the action quickly by eliminating a lot of the fluff and crunch that's packed into so many games, this is the game for you. Billy has designed TLD RPG, a game that's fast, brutal, and flexible. Welcome to the show, Billy. I'm so excited to have you on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So we'll get right into it. The Kickstarter is fully funded, so congratulations on that, my
Thank
man.
you. Thank you.
What do you have lined up? Oh, you're welcome. What do you have lined up for stretch goals?
There's two stretch goals. The first one, which we're really, really close to hitting, is to bring on guest artist Michael Harmon. He's over at Yogdu Games, and he did Tomb of Immolation and Pork in the Void and Skin Job and things like that. And he's just an amazing artist. So once we hit that stretch goal, I can get him to come in and do a few pieces in his style. So that'll be cool.
Nice.
The second stretch goal is to get sewn binding in the book. It's so expensive to do that. I just couldn't financially do it, right off the bat. So that's why it's a big stretch goal. But if we can get the sewn binding stretch goal, it'll just be a much better reading experience. The book will lay flat and it'll actually be much more durable. So it'll last for years.
Nice.
Yeah.
I definitely hope we hit that one because that would be awesome.
That'll be a big one. Yeah.
So getting into the game, one of the first things I noticed was just how easy it is to create characters for TLD RPG.
Mm-hmm.
So starting players assign 4 points to 3 different attributes, if I've got that right.
Mm-hmm.
What are the 3 attributes and what are the next steps after assigning the points to those attributes?
Well, the 3 attributes are mind, body, and spirit. And any role you need to do should fall under one of those categories. You assign your points however you like. So that way you can decide, which attributes are you favor. Then after that, the meat of the system is based around abilities that you choose. So I didn't want to create a system where you kind of felt boxed in by, say, your class, your predefined class, or your racial bonuses or anything like that. I wanted it to be very flexible and very up to the players. So after you assign your attribute points, you get to pick abilities that you then slot into those attributes. So for instance, if you have a character that has 2 mind points during character creation, you can then pick 2 abilities from your mind ability list and put those in there. And now you have abilities, skills, powers, call them what you want. But, those are the things you can do with that attribute.
Nice. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. A couple other things after that, but that's the meat of the system. You got to pick some items and things like that. But yeah, the basis of the system is assigning your attribute points and then using those to pick your abilities. And then you go from there.
Cool. That's sounds super fast to get going, which...
Yeah, it really only takes a few minutes. And the thing that I really like about it is, even though it's quick, it doesn't feel lacking. And I think that's because the abilities that you have to choose from, they really have a lot of flavor to them. So I realized that you don't need a whole lot besides that, because once I say, okay, this is my character and these are the couple of things he can do really well, then that's kind of all you need to start playing. You hit the ground running, and then you start playing and you do a session or 2, you get some experience points, and then boom, now you can afford some more abilities, and then it just kind of goes from there.
Nice. That actually kind of plays into my next question, which was, how do players level up in TLD RPG?
Well, there's a few guidelines in the book, but it's really kind of straightforward. It's usually I give a couple of suggestions for, like, you should award XP points in these situations. Simple things like, completing a session, having excellent role play. If you finish like a significant, bad guy or something like that. There's also some critical failure and success rolls. And so if you do a critical failure, you actually can get experience points from that. Because I like the idea of kind of learning through failure, you know?
Yep.
And so, and plus it makes it so that it's not quite so terrible if you have a critical failure, because at least there's that silver lining. Well, I'll get a little bit better, you know, at the end of the session.
Right.
So you rack up your experience points, and then after a rest, you know, you assign them and you buy new levels, and now you're able to slot in more abilities.
Nice. We're doing great, like going right into my next questions and everything. So the other thing that I think is really cool is using the D6 based dice pool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you explain how it works and how players can accumulate or lose dice in the dice pool? And then the last little nugget that we can touch on with it is, what is a critical failure and what counts as a critical success?
Well, the dice pool is actually having a D6 dice pool was really important to me from the beginning. And it's because one of my main goals for the game was to make it feel very accessible. Um, Not only did I want experienced players to kind of just instantly get it, but I also wanted people who maybe don't play a lot of role playing games to be able to pick it up. And, you know, you could take it to your friends who maybe are not big role players and just say, like, hey, I have this system, it's really quick, and they'll just kind of get it. And, you know, D6 is a very unintimidating dice. You know, if you're like, okay, I have a D20, a D12, a D8, they're like, oh my gosh, all these numbers, you know. So making it based around the dice that everyone knows, I thought made it more approachable. And I'm a big fan of dice pools in general. I just love chucking a big old handful of dice across the table. So I kind of kept those two things as part of the core and built around that. Uh, for the critical system, uh, once you get an attribute to level 2 or higher, oh, because I forgot to mention, when you want to do something, you roll an amount of dice equal to the relevant attribute.
Gotcha.
So if I'm swinging a sword, that's melee. Melee falls under body. I have 4 body, you know, so I roll 4 dice. And if you get a success on, or if you get a 6 on any of your dice, you have a success. Simple as that. So every time you are able to put another point into an attribute, you get another dice to roll with that. There are other factors that can raise and lower the dice that you roll. Some abilities actually are geared towards that, but also usually in my playtesting, I found it's DM discretion. So if you're trying to do something, but you're in some kind of a disadvantaged situation, the DM might say, like, okay, -1D, you know, or if you're doing something where you have some sort of an advantage, maybe you're catching someone by surprise, or you have the high ground or something, you know, he might say, you know, +1D. And so that gives you a little bit of a bonus there for that roll. But yeah, back to the criticals. 2 of your dice that you roll will look different from the rest of the pool. And if on those 2 dice you roll double 6s, you get a critical success.
Nice.
If you roll double 1s, critical fail. And if you roll a 1 and a 6, it's kind of like a mixed result. And whatever you roll on the critical dice actually overrides the rest of your pool. And it's only those 2 dice, it doesn't grow. The system originally had more and more dice kind of contributing to your criticals, but it just got really unwieldy. And so we came up with this idea to just cap it at 2. And as long as you make them look different, you'll always know what dice they are. So if I'm rolling 6 dice, you know, I know my 2 of them are my critical dice, and, you know, hopefully those go well. And if as long as they don't override anything, if I get a 6 anywhere on any of my dice, I get a success. So
if on the critical dice, let's say you got 2 6s, and then you got
critical success,
then you got 1s everywhere else, the 6s still override those 1s.
The critical overrides the others. So yeah, that would be a good roll for you.
Nice.
But for instance, if you got on your criticals a 2 and a 3 and a, you know, whatever, they just don't mean anything because they're failures, but they're not critical failures.
Gotcha.
Because it's really only the 1 and the 6 that make a critical. So
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
That
And
makes sense.
I realized that once you start, chucking like 7 dice, I originally had it, if you get 2 1s, it's a critical fail. But then I realized, oh man, this character got really strong. He has 7 dice, but now he's getting critical failures all the time. And it just wasn't a very satisfying feeling. So that's why we capped it at 2 and just said, these are your critical dice. These determine whether you get a critical failure, success, or not, or just a regular roll.
Gotcha. This sounds so cool, man. I'm
Oh,
ready to
thanks, man.
play.
Thanks, man. I really wanted to make a system that kind of just facilitated like quick, fun gaming. If you just take 5 minutes to kind of sit down and get used to the rules, you kind of just hit the ground running and you start playing your game and telling your stories. That's what I was really going for.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you've hit the nail right on the head trying to do that. So,
The
um,
playtesting has been going well, so
nice. And if
yeah.
I understand correctly, you've got a play test tonight.
Yep, tonight, yeah.
Nice.
And one of many. So yeah, I'm excited. The players seem like they're having a lot of fun, and it's been really, really helpful. The game has really evolved, just from watching other people, tinker with a game and try to break it, and it teaches me where there's holes and what needs to be fixed. So it's
Awesome.
a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad it's working out well for you with the play testing.
Yeah, thanks.
So one of the other things that I noticed in the Kickstarter info is you said there's some unique creatures. What can you tell folks about some of the more unique creatures that you'll be introducing in TLD RPG?
Well, my background is an artist. I'm an RPG artist, and my preferred subject is actually creatures and characters. So that's kind of what I have always loved making, even before I started making games. Even before I was into like professional RPG illustrations, I was always doodling, monsters and things like that. So I just have books and books of cool things I want to cram in there. So really, it's been a matter of like finding a way that they fit into the system, having their own abilities and things like that. So I have kind of a lot of your standard stuff. So like, vampires and mummies and ghouls and things like that. And then I also have just some cool stuff that I've come up with. There's this like carnivorous plant thing that has like poison barbs. There's this, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a human slash centipede hybrid thing with a like a slimy skull for a head.
Nice. That
Those
sounds
kind of
cool.
things. Yeah, there's another one I'm calling Stickman. I got to think of a better name, but he kind of he kind of looks like a bundle of sticks, except that's kind of his camouflage. And then when he like animates, it's almost like a Wicker Man thing, and so he's all disjointed and does a lot of slashing damage and things like that. Um, I really love like goblins and orcs and trolls and things, so I have a lot of those. Just a lot of kind of cool, creepy stuff. If it's weird and creepy and in your face, I probably like drawing it. So all that stuff's gonna go in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of the art, I noticed that the art for this project seems pretty dark. Is that consistent throughout the project? I love what I've seen
Oh,
so
thanks.
far.
Yeah, the artwork. I actually am very comfortable with a variety of styles. So I'm able to do different stuff as I please, and I kind of tinkered around with a few different things, and until I landed on this style. It's kind of dark and gritty and kind of messy. I think if I was going to compare it to something, I would say if you're familiar with Morkborg or products like that, it would
Yep.
fit right into that kind of a style of art. Um, I uh, I do have some other pieces that are stylistically different, but they still feel like they fit the tone. Just because I like making art in different ways, so sometimes I'll just have a piece and I want to go in a different direction with it. Also, the guest artist that I'm hoping to bring on, his style is much different than mine, but he's really good at doing that kind of dark, moody stuff. But our styles look much different. He's got a much more detailed and much more clean style. It almost has like a photographic quality to it, or but you can tell that it's handmade art. Similar to, I would compare it to if anyone is familiar with Tim Bradstreet, the famous artist from like Vampire the Masquerade.
Okay.
Um, it's similar to that, where it's like very film noir kind of looking.
Nice.
Michael Harmon is his name. If you look him up, he's all over, and he's got just really great work. And then besides that, I have some other pieces that I'm hoping to put in there that are more like a little more like classic old school pen and ink drawings, like you'd find in like an old monster manual or something.
Yep.
Just because it's just so much fun as an artist to make that kind of work. So we're going to put some of that in there too. So there'll be a variety, but it's all going to have a kind of general direction to it, where it's kind of that dark and gritty kind of a feel.
Yeah, I love like the stuff that you sent me. I have the folks watching can actually see like a rotating slideshow of the images that
Oh,
you
is there other
sent me.
pictures going by?
Yep. And you actually
Is it
helped.
above? Is it
It's
below?
down below us.
Down below?
Yep.
This is my art. This is my art.
And you actually helped settle an argument between my fiance and I. The
Oh, yeah?
main image that you're using as the header for the
Uh-huh.
Kickstarter.
This is the
I
guy
was
with the
like,
big ears.
yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
like a little bat guy at first. And she's like, no, that's a gremlin or a goblin. And then you sent the art and I was just like, she's right.
It's, you know what? You're both a little bit right. I think I called him Bat Goblin, I think is what he is. But yeah, that's a really good example. I don't know, wherever it is on your screen.
It's dead center kind of over here. So
We'll just point at the whole bottom,
yeah,
and
we'll
one
just...
of us will hit it. There you go. So if your viewers are seeing kind of a real ugly face with kind of big bat ears, that's a good example of the kind of mishmash creatures I like to make. It's a little hard to describe because it kind of looks like different things at once, but it definitely has an evocative feeling, I hope, because that's what I'm going for. It's like, I don't know exactly what he is, but I know I don't want to get too close to him.
I'll be
So,
honest with you. That's what pulled me right in to this Kickstarter before we had even
good.
talked about doing an interview. I saw that and I was like, I'm backing this because
Oh, wow.
that guy looks so cool. I'm like,
Yeah. That's the kind of adventure I want to make, where it's like exciting from the get-go and you kind of understand it right off the bat. You're like, this is kind of in your face and exciting, and let's do it. Let's go, because that's how I like my gaming. So that's how I like my art.
yeah, man. And that cover mock-up too. Ooh,
Thanks, man. Yeah. Is that going to be on the screen too?
that is, yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to do something again that was like very evocative and very in your face. And I actually made a choice to, and I'm not sure if I might change this, but the cover mock-up, I don't have the title on the front cover. It's just a big, scary looking face and some white space. And I just thought that's a very striking image. And I think that's what I was going for, because I'm putting myself in the shoes of the gamer, and I'm like, if I saw that on a shelf, I would say, whoa, what is that? I have to look at it. I have to pick it up just to at least check it out.
Yeah.
And then there you go. Now you start flipping through and hopefully you like what you see.
Yeah, you're definitely picking that up when you see that cover. That's for sure.
I figure if it appeals to me, hopefully it appeals to other people too.
Yep, I think it will.
Yeah.
So speaking of me backing the project, one of the things that I saw when I backed it was there are a couple of different options for backers. One being a soft cover, and then the one that I went with was the expanded hardcover. Can you explain the difference between the two tiers, I guess you'd say, and what folks will get depending on which one they back?
Well, the soft cover, I kind of like to think of it as the base version. It's going to have everything you need to just sit down and play. So it's going to have all the rules, and it's going to have a few extras of like a few example creatures, statted out, and a few, excuse me, and a few tables for helping to roll up some cool stuff, whether it's like loot or locations or things like that. Just kind of quick, evocative tools, because I want it to feel like I can just grab this book and sit down and just kind of start playing and flip through it as I need. So the soft cover is going to have all that. The hardcover, it's going to have all of that plus more of the extras. So a much more expanded bestiary, many more tables, because I'm a dork and I like random tables. And it's also going to have a short mini adventure with a map, and that way you can kind of again just sit down and do almost like no prep and just kind of say, okay, here's an adventure, read through real quick, okay, let's run through it, you know. So it's got all of the same base things, it's just got a lot more of the bonus features, I guess you'd call them. And like I said, I love a hardcover book. That's my preferred thing when I back something. It just feels more durable, but also like more bookish, I guess,
Yeah,
to
well,
use a
it's a
silly
little
word.
more substantial, I guess, would be a way of.
Yes, yeah, that's a good word for it. And it's like I'm the dorky guy who's in the bookstore, and I'm like picking the books up and like doing knocking on them and like shaking them to see how they feel. My wife makes fun of me all the time. And like when I buy a new book, I always go and I smell it. I just
Yes.
love the smell of books, you know, and it's like I love the feel of it, I love the smell of it, and I feel like I'm gold member in Austin Powers now. Um, yeah, the taste of it. But yeah, so I really wanted to make a book that feels substantial and like has value. And so yeah, that's the main difference between the hard and the soft cover. Plus, I have a tier that includes both of them, because if you're like me, again, you have the nice copy and you're probably going to want to keep that on your shelf. And then you have the soft cover, and it's like, okay, I'll pass it around the table if someone needs it. And if it gets a little dinged up, oh well, because I still have my good one on my bookshelf. So
Nice. Yeah, I'm probably going to switch to the tier with both of them because I'm a completionist. So,
yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, whatever it is, I want all of it, you know, whatever,
yes.
all the little patches and stickers and everything. So yeah. And then above that, there's actually I don't remember what I called it, super duper deluxe tier or something. And it comes with everything that the other ones come with, except it has a cool bonus of you get a one of a kind hand drawn sketch in the hardcover. So if anyone out there is like me and they like, you know, like if you go to a con and you get a sketch from an artist, you know, that's kind of what this is. It's you get a little, you know, hey, thank you for buying the book, and you get like a cool sketch of a bat goblin or whatever is in my head that day, you know. And yeah, it's like your book is now like no one else's. And to me, as a book guy and an art guy, that appeals to me. So hopefully people like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I can either put in enough overtime or something to get up to that level. I forgot about that tier. And it is also so funny that it said you said you smell books. I thought I was the only person that did that. And my fiance
Me
does the
too.
same thing. She's like, "You weirdo." And I'm like,
Yeah, she's yeah,
"Yep."
yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, "But it smells like a good book." And she's
It
like,
does.
"Yeah."
It does.
And
Yeah.
some books have that, like even newer books will have that kind of musty older
Uh-huh.
smell to them, like they've been sitting in a
Yep.
warehouse forever. And then
Yep.
other ones, you get them and they just smell so crisp and fresh. And it's like,
Yep. Yep.
ah,
Yeah, it's funny. I've always enjoyed books because of the like the tactile experience of it. So I like holding the book in my hand to see how much it weighs. I like if I have a paperback, like I'll shake it because I like the
the
noise of
sound.
like
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like I don't know. I don't know. As long as I don't start tasting it, I think I'm not technically crazy. So,
But we still might
but
both,
yeah,
if we went to a bookstore together, we might get kicked out for either
yeah,
shaking all their
yeah.
soft covers or smelling all
They say,
their
oh,
books.
there's the book weirdos
Yeah.
again.
There's those two
Yeah,
crazy book sniffers.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Book sniffers of the world unite.
that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys are weird like us, pick up the hardcover because it's going to be nice. It's going to be a good one. Oh, it's going to be. I should have mentioned the soft cover is going to be about 50 pages, and the hardcover is going to be a little over 70 pages. So that should give you an idea of like how much extra content there will be.
Nice.
And it's since I come from an art background, one of my focuses on making this book kind of stand out is to make sure it's really packed with art. Um, for people that don't know, who've never worked in the field, art is usually the biggest chunk of creating a book like this. And that's why sometimes, you know, you'll have a really great book and it will have very sparse illustrations, you know, one every couple pages or, you know, maybe even less than that, a nice cover and a couple inside, and that's it. Because it's a lot to afford. So since I'm the one handling all the art duties, I just thought just pack it in there as much as you can, because I really like when I open a book and every spread has something cool on it. Whether it's just a little illustration in the corner, or some full blown thing or whatever. I want something cool to look at every time someone turns the page. So I think that's going to make for a really kind of exciting and satisfying experience.
Nice. I do too. So, I've only got one more thing, and then I can let you get going so you can get ready for your play test. Um, what would you say to anyone out there listening that's still on the fence about backing TLD RPG?
You know what? Right now is a really interesting time for our hobby. Um, with the whole OGL fiasco that we all just went through, and with uh, the new field of AI artists becoming a thing, and whatever you feel about that one way or the other is your business. That's fine. But it's a really interesting time in our hobby because you have, the little guy like me who are just trying to make something that they love. And so right now is a really good time to back someone who's just trying to make something they love. Because really, when you make a product like this, nobody's getting rich off of it. What we want people to enjoy our work. And I'm putting a lot into this book because I just want people to like my game. I just want them to have fun. One of my favorite things is just getting together with my friends and just, sitting around a table and having fun. So I thought, if I can make something that brings people together and they have just a fun night with their pals, that would be a really cool feeling. So yeah, if you want to just have a fun, quick, easy night with your friends, give it a shot.
Nice. And hopefully lots of people will for you too. I think that would be great. Well, Billy, that about wraps up my questions. I do want to give you a minute, though, to tell people where they can find more information. Well, more information about your art and to give kind of the elevator pitch for TLD RPG.
Sure. Well, the Kickstarter, first of all, is really easy to find. Just type in TLD and it'll just take you right to it. It's the big bat goblin. If you want to check out some of my art, my illustration portfolio is also really easy to find. My website is billyblueart.com. And most of my socials are Billy Blue Art or billyblueart.com, all spelled out. So whatever your social platform is, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you can usually find me there. I'm actually really active in a lot of the Facebook groups. So if you're in any of the RPG zine groups or anything like that, you should find me there. And as far as the game, I think the elevator pitch would just be that it's fast, it's fun, and it's flexible. And I like to put the focus on the players rather than characters. So I give a lot of the choices to the players because I want them to feel like they're a part of the game instead of feeling like they're being railroaded or something like that. So yeah, if you wanna have a good time, give it a shot.
Nice. And I will have links for both billyblueart.com and the Kickstarter in the description down here after you're watching this. Well, thanks for joining me tonight, Billy. And
Yeah, my
folks,
pleasure, man.
if you've enjoyed this interview, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. And like I said, you can find links to both the TLD RPG and Billy's art site down below. All right.
Yeah, click that like button. It actually really helps, creators like us.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. And
Yeah, man.
folks, have a good night out there.
Happy gaming.